I built the ultimate UGC ads generator app using just Lovable N8N. All you have to do is upload an image of the product you want to advertise, select how many images you want to generate, and type any other idea you might have about the ad. And then the app takes care of the rest. It uses Google's newest AI model, Nano Banana, to create relevant starting images with the products you want to advertise, and returns them back in the app's interface so the user can select which ones he wants to turn into video ads. Then the app uses VO3 to turn those images into high converting video ads that companies would pay thousands of dollars to have. And the best part is that each one of these ads costs less than 50 cents to make. And in this video I will show you exactly how you can build this app step by step. So let's get started. Now the first thing that we have to do is to build the front-end interface of our app, and we're going to do that with Lovable, which is an app that allows us to build nice looking front ends by typing simple prompts. So to build our app, I will simply come over here and type, I want to build a UGC ad generation app. The user should be able to upload an image of the product he wants to advertise, which is the first input that our app is going to get. Then the second input is the number of images he wants to generate. And then the third input is any other idea he might have about the ad. And I also specify over here it can be the ad copy, the product description, the characters, or a text watermark. And then I say, once he does that, the app is going to create the ad images and return them back in the app's interface, so the user can then decide which ones he wants to turn into animated ads. And the reason we're adding this feature, guys, is because maybe some images didn't turn out as well as the others, so the user might not want to animate all of them. But then I say, do not try to build any of the backend functions of the app. I will build all of them with N8N. And the reason I specifically say this, guys, is because if I don't, Lovable is going to go and try to build the backend of the app as well, which is simply unable to do, and it's going to lead us in a lot of problems down the line. So that's why I specifically tell it to don't try to build any of the backend functions. And then I say, you just focus on building a nice looking UI. It needs to be modern with nice sharp colors, just like this example. And now what I will do, guys, is I will go over to Google and search for nice looking UI, then simply find one that I like. Let's say I really like this one, for example. Then all I have to do is to simply come over here and download it, and then I will come back over to Lovable, click on attach, upload the UI just downloaded, and then I will come over here and click on enter. This way Lovable also has a visual example of exactly how I want the app to look like, making it way more likely to give me a good end result. But now while Lovable is building the front-end interface for our app, let's go over to N8N and start building the backend. So go over to N8N, and the first thing that you need to do is to obviously add in your trigger. To do that, you have to come over here and click on add first step, and then we're going to come over here and search for a webhook node, and not any other trigger. Is because a webhook allows us to connect the front-end interface we're building right now in Lovable with the backend automation we're going to build over in N8N. So that's why we're choosing a webhook. Now the only change I need to make from all the settings over here is to come over here in the HTTP method and change it from get over to post, since we're going to be sending over a post request over to Lovable in order for us to be able to send and receive data. So now all you have to do is to come over here and click on this URL to copy it in your clipboard, and then if we come back over in a Lovable interface, where as you can see Lovable also finished generating the front-end interface of our app, which looks pretty decent. Now we can obviously improve the way it looks, but first let's get the core functionalities of it nailed down, and then we can improve all the visuals. But remember, we came over to Lovable to connect it with N8N, so to do that we have to come over here and say, make sure you send all the data back to this webhook URL. And now what I will do is I will come over here and paste in the webhook URL just copied. And I will also say, make sure you send the image as a binary file and all the other fields as separate schemas, and then come over here and click on enter. And the reason I said that at the end, guys, is because we're going to upload an image over here to send it back over in N8N, but Lovable is not going to send it as a binary file, which is how N8N actually accepts images. It is going to send it as simple text, because that's how by default Lovable sends images. But if we come over here and we tell it to send it as a binary file, it is going to change its default settings and send it over as that. So now Lovable just finished making the changes, and it's time we actually go and test our app. So to do that, I will come over here in the product image, and I will simply upload an image of this cat food over here, which for this video, let's say, is the product that we want to advertise. So that's exactly what I did over here. I uploaded this image, then over here in the number of images, let's say I want to generate 4 images for example, then over here in the text watermark, let's say I want to put in @Meumax, which is the name of this cat food brand. Then over here in the ad copy, you can put some ad copy that you might want your images to have. Let's say the tastiest snacks. Over here in the product description, you can describe your product. I will simply say cat food. And then over here in the character description, you can describe any characters you might want inside your ads. So for example, since this is a cat food, we probably would want a cat going over and eating this food. So we could say cat eating the food while the owner is petting it. But then before we were able to come over here and click on generate UGC ads, we would have to come back over to N8N and make sure we click on listen for test event. This way a webhook expects to receive data from a Lovable interface, and then we can come back over to Lovable and simply click on generate UGC ads. And boom, as you can see, the data was sent successfully over to N8N. And if we come back over to N8N, we can see data on the output over here, which means that we have successfully managed to connect a front-end interface in Lovable with a backend automation in N8N, and specifically we can see a binary file over here, which if we come over here and click on view, we can see the image of the cat food we uploaded over in our Lovable interface. And then if we navigate over here in the schema section, we can see literally all the data that we inputted inside Lovable. The image count, the ad copy, product description, etc, etc. Basically everything that we inputted in our Lovable interface. So now we have successfully managed to get all the data over to N8N, and it's time we actually go and create these images. Now the first thing that we need to do is to come over here and click on the plus icon, and we're going to search for an HTTP request. And the reason we're searching for an HTTP request, guys, is because we have our product image over here, but Nano Banana cannot access it in the form that it is, simply because it is just inside the N8N interface and it's not uploaded somewhere in the cloud. So what we need to do is to basically take this image and upload it over to the cloud. And how we're going to do that is by using a service that is called ImageBB, which is basically a free third-party API that allows you to upload images over to the cloud. So then Nano Banana can take this image and actually use it to create the starting images for our ad. So you can click the link in the description where I will link this website over here, and the first thing you have to do is to come and create your account. As you can see, I have already created my account over here, and then what you need to do is to navigate over to ImageBB's docs, which I will also leave a link for in the description so you can immediately access them. And then what you have to do is to scroll all the way down here, guys, up until you see this example code over here, which is basically a short snippet of code. Now all you have to do is to come over here and copy this short snippet of code, and then come back over to N8N, click on import to URL, paste in the snippet of code you just copied, and click on import. And what this does, guys, is it basically populates the vast majority of the settings for us automatically, so we don't have to go and manually add them ourselves. Now we still do need to configure some of the settings, but the majority of the work has been done for us. Now the first thing that we need to configure is to come over here in the query parameters to where it says key and input our API key, which is our way of authenticating ourselves. Now to find our API key, we have to go back over to the ImageBB docs and simply scroll all the way over here to the top to where you will be able to see your API key. And all you have to do is to simply come over here and copy your API key, and then come back over to N8N, simply delete the previous value that existed inside this box, and then come over here and paste it in. And now the next thing that you need to do is to scroll down here to the body parameters, and you need to come over here to the body content type and change this over to from data. So once you selected that, then you need to come over here and change the parameter type to N8N binary file, since if you remember, this is a binary file that we're trying to upload over to ImageBB service. Then over here in the name, you need to type in image, exactly as I typed it over here, and then in the input data field name, you need to make sure you're in the binary file section, and then simply copy the name of your binary file and paste it in over here. So now if I come and execute the step, you will see that we did in fact successfully manage to upload this image over to ImageBB, and over here we have a schema that is called URL with a unique URL that has the cat food image that we uploaded over in our Lovable interface. So now what we need to do is to create the prompts that we're going to give over to Nano Banana, so we can then take our image, take those prompts, basically combine them together and go and generate our starting images. But in order for us to craft those prompts, we also need to have context about what the image that we have over here is. Because right now, we cannot actually give this image to an AI, simply because the AI is not able to understand binary files. So how we're gonna be able to work around that is by coming over here, clicking on the plus icon, and we're going to search for OpenAI, and specifically we'll come over here in the image actions, and we're going to select analyze image, which what this node basically enables us to do is give the image to an AI model and have it create an analysis of the image and basically tell us exactly what is inside it. Now the first thing that you need to do is to come over here and select your OpenAI credentials. Now if you do not have credentials, all you have to do is to come over here and click on create new credential, and then you need to input your API key over here. Now how you're gonna find your API key is by going over to platform/OpenAI/keys. I will leave a link for it in the description below, and then coming over here and clicking create new secret key. Then you simply need to give it a name. I will name it name for this example, and then I will come over here and click on create secret key, and boom, this is your new API key. So all you have to do now is to come over here and click on copy, and then come back over to N8N and simply paste in your API key over here and click on save. And boom, now you can close this off and you can come over here and select your OpenAI credentials. The research will leave this on image, operation will leave this on analyze image. Then over here in the model, I will personally select GPT-4o, and then over here in the text input, we basically need to give a prompt to our AI, telling it exactly what we want it to do. So I wrote, let me know about the content of the image, and specifically the main object, and make sure you mention different brand symbols that the image might have. And the reason I told it that is because remember, we want to keep our branding consistent, and we don't want the AI to change it at all. That's why I'm basically telling it to describe it very well. So then the AI that we're going to use to create the prompts knows exactly what branding our image has. Then over here in the input type, you leave this on image and URLs. And then over here in the URLs, you simply take in the URL of the image. We just upload it over to IMGPB and simply take it and drag and drop it over here. So now if we come and we click on execute step, you will see that our OpenAI node over here is analyze the image. And if I actually open this up again, I am able to see over here a full description of exactly what this image is. So now that we also have a description of the image and we also have the image URL, what we need to do is to go and create the prompts that we're going to give over to Nano Banana. So to do that, I will come over here, click on the plus icon, and I will search for an AI agent. So now what we have to do over here is to basically configure the settings of our agent. The first thing I will do is I will come and change this from connect to the trigger node to define below. And then this is going to open up the user message where we're basically going to tell our AI agent exactly what we want it to do. So let me turn this into an expression and open this up so you guys can take a better look at it. And I will come over here and say, this prompt over here, now no, this might seem intimidating because it is too long. But do not worry, we're going to go over it right now. Now the first thing we're saying is you're a professional studio advertisement generator and you have the following inputs. First you have the product analysis, which is again the analysis we just did over in our analyze image node. So we'll simply take in that schema and drag and drop it over here so our agent has access to the exact product analysis we just did. And then over here I say that it also has access to the user's input, which typically is the art copy, the product description, the character, and the text watermark, which in our case is, and now what I will do guys, I will delete these fake dummy values that I had before, and I will simply come over here in my webhook, open it up, scroll all the way down to where I have the actual user's input we had in our Lovable interface, and I will simply take in all those values and drag and drop them over here. So first I will take in the ad copy and I will drag and drop it over here. Then I will put in a comma and take the product description, drag and drop it over here as well. Then I will take in the characters, drag and drop them over here. And finally, I will take in the watermark that I want my ads to have and simply drag and drop it over here. And boom, as you can see now, our AI agent has access to all of this information. And then we tell it, this is the number of prompts you need to generate. So what I'm going to do over here is simply come in my webhook again and take in the number of prompts that I have over here and drag and drop it over here. So now we have basically given all the inputs that we need in our AI agent. And the next is simply us instructing it exactly how it needs to act. So over here I give it some advertisement style requirements. I basically tell it to generate professional studio advertisements similar to premium commercial campaigns, what each prompt must contain, the overall setup, the lightning. I also give it some instructions about the secondary elements. Then I give it some prompt requirements. I tell it that each prompt must be optimized for professional advertising impact and brand recognition, and a bunch of other instructions. Then I give it commercial elements to include. I tell it use high contrast, clean compositions, premium product, authentic presentation, etc. And then I give it the output format where I basically tell it exactly how I want it to output me these prompts. And then if I scroll all the way down here, you will see that I give it some adaptation guidelines for different niches, and I give it a final reminder that each one of the prompts should end with the phrase, keep the original logo, branding, and product design exactly shown in the uploaded image. No modifications to colors, font styling, or positioning. And this is super important to specify, guys, because we don't want our initial product to change when Nano Banana takes that image and creates a brand new one. So that's why it's very important to specify that in every one of your prompts, and then I basically finish with some minor instructions. Now, if you want this full prompt along with the template for the whole automation we're going to build in this video, so you can simply come, click on these three dots on the top right corner, click on import from file, upload the file and have the whole automation populate for you automatically. You can click the link in my description and come and join my school community, where I basically have all the assets for all the videos that I make inside this asset tab, along with the automation we're building in this video. So you can simply open it up, find the automation we're building in this video, and there will be a JSON file underneath it. All you would have to do is to simply click on it and download it, and then you will be able to go over to N8N, upload it, and have the whole automation populate for you automatically. Or if you don't want to do that, you can simply take a bunch of screenshots of this prompt as I'm scrolling through it right now, and simply upload them over to ChatGPT, tell it to give you the text, and it's basically going to give you the full text, so you can then just simply copy and paste it over here. So now that we're done with the prompt, I will simply come and close this off, and now it's time we come over here and we add in our LLM model. So I will come over here in the bottom and I will click on Add Chat Model, and I will search for OpenAI. I will select my credentials over here and I will leave this on GPT 4.1 mini, and then I'm going to come over here in the tool and I'm going to search for the Think tool, which is a very useful tool that I think basically every last one of you should be using, no matter what kind of AI agent you're building, simply because this tool tells the AI agent to pause, take a moment and rethink of the answer that it's going to give you, which indeed makes it give you a better response. So that's why every time you're building an AI agent, make sure you're using this tool over here. And then what I'm going to do is open this up and come over here and turn on the required specific output format. When I do that, if I close this off, you can see that this opens up this brand new branch over here, which is called an output parser. So I will simply come and select it, and then I will click on structured output parser, which what this basically does is it tells our AI agent exactly how we want it to give us its output. And this is also a part where everyone starts losing their mind, because they see this short snippet of code and they're like, whoa, Damien, this is code. I don't know how to write in a code. I cannot actually do this. Well, do not worry, guys, you will not have to write any code yourself. All you have to do is to simply come over here, delete this part, and then type in this short snippet of code. Now you can, again, screenshot this, give it over to ChatGPT, and it's going to give you the text. And if you're wondering how I actually came up with this, I basically told ChatGPT exactly what I want my AI agent to output, and it gave me this snippet of code, which I just copied and pasted. And now if I actually close this off and run my AI agent, and it just finished executing, so if I come and open this up, you can see that we basically have 4 prompts in a very nice and structured way, and that's because we use an output parser. So now that we have these 4 prompts, we can take those and send them over to Nano Banana along with the image of our product, and basically have it generate us the starting images for our ads. So to do that, I will simply come and click off of here, and then we need to come over here and search for an HTTP request. And the reason we're going to use an HTTP request, guys, is because there is a native Nano Banana node inside N8N, which means that in order for us to be able to access it, we will need to hit a third-party API service. And the third-party API service we're going to use for this video is called Key API, which is the cheapest one of the market right now, and it also allows us to use VO3, which we're going to use after we have generated our images. So again, you can go in the description and click the link, and it's going to bring you over to this website. The first thing you have to do is to come over here and create your account, and after you create your account, you need to come and navigate over to the dashboard, because the first thing that you have to do is to come over here to where it says top up credits, and then you will need to buy some credits, because these are third-party API services that we're hitting, guys, and they obviously do cost money. But the good part is that you can only get started with $5. And just so you have a rough estimate of how much this is going to cost us, each one of the video ads that are going to be 8 seconds long are going to cost us less than 50 cents to make. If you input $5, you will be able to create a bunch of them. So after you did that, what you have to do is to come over here in the playground, where you see the Nano Banana model, which is going to bring you over here in this page, where you can see there is a playground where you can actually use Nano Banana from inside this interface. But since we don't want to use it from inside this interface and we want to use their API, all we have to do is to come over here and click on API. And this opens up the API docs, where it also tells us exactly how much each one of the images that we generate is going to cost us, which is only 2 cents, as you can see over here, guys. So this is actually a pretty cheap model to use. Now the first thing that we need to do is to make sure over here in the API endpoints we're in the create task section, and then scroll all the way down here, guys, till you see the request example. And as you can see, again we have a CURL, which to this point is actually our best friend. So all we have to do is to simply come over here and copy it, and then we have to go back over to N8N, click on import CURL, and simply come over here and paste it in, and click on import. And this populates the vast majority of the settings for us automatically. Now we still do need to make some configurations, but they're going to be very minimal. Now the first thing that we need to configure is obviously to authenticate ourselves, which we're going to do with our own unique API key. Now to find your API key, you need to go back over to Key AI's dashboard, and then simply come over here and click on API key. And then all you have to do is to create a brand new one. So come over here and click on create. Then you need to give it a name. I will name it key. And then come over here and click on create. And boom, this is your brand new API key. All you have to do is to copy it. And you can either come over here and paste it inside this value, or in my opinion, you can actually save it inside N8N, so you can always access it without you having to go and paste it in every time. So to do that, you have to come over here to authentication and change this from none to generic credential type. Then you have to come over here and select header auth. Then you have to come over here and click on create new credential. And now you need to input the name and the value. Now for the name, what you need to type is authorization, exactly as I have typed it over here, including the capital A, because if you don't type it like that, this is not going to work. And then over here in the value, what you need to type is better with a capital B at the start, then space, and then paste in your API key. So it should be better, space, and then you paste in your API key. And then you simply can come over here and give this a name. I will name it key API, and then come over here and click on save. And boom, our credentials were successfully created. So now all we have to do is to simply scroll down here and configure the JSON parameters. Do not get intimidated by this. This is actually super simple to do, guys. All you have to do is to come over here and click on expression and open this up. And then what we need to do is to come over here to where it says prompt, and we simply need to delete this fake dummy prompt that exists inside here. And then we need to input our image prompts inside here. But as you can see, they're all inside an array, which means we can just simply take it and drag and drop it over here. So to circumvent that, what we have to do is to close this node altogether, and we need to come over here and add in another step between these two nodes, which is going to be a split out node. And what this basically does is it's going to take our array over here and basically input all the different values inside one schema. And just so you see how this works, you simply have to take in that array, drag and drop it over here, and leave this on no other fields included. And if I come and execute the step, you will see that this basically inputs all of our prompts inside one single schema. As you can see over here, we have 4 items, which are the 4 different prompts. So now, if we come and open up our HTTP request again, and navigate over here in the JSON body, and we open this up, we are able to take in the output of our splitter node and simply drag and drop it over here. And then the other thing we need to configure is the image URLs, which is basically the URL of the image we uploaded over to IMGBB. So to do that, I will simply delete this fake URL, and I will open up my HTTP request to where I have the actual URL of my image, and simply take it and drag and drop it inside these 2 codes over here. And these are the only 2 parameters you need to configure. Now if you want to learn how you can configure all of the others, you can simply come back over to the docs and read what each one of these parameters does and the possible values that you can input inside them. But since I don't actually want to configure any of them and I don't have to make any other changes, I will leave it exactly as it is over here. Now again, you can click the link in the description, join the school community, and download the full JSON, which is going to include this snippet of code, or you can simply take a screenshot of this and upload it over to ChatGPT. So now I will simply close this off, and it's time we actually go and we execute the step. So if I come over here and click on execute step, you can see that we did successfully send over a request over to Nano Banana to start generating our images. Now what I want to do is simply come over here, take in all of this data, and I will actually click on P in my keyboard, which what this actually does is it pins the data from inside all of these nodes. And the reason I did that now is because we sent over this request, and this request does actually cost us money, guys. So that's why when you're building this out, make sure you pin this. And now what we need to do is to simply wait till our images are done generating. So to do that, I will simply come over here and I will search for a wait node. And what a wait node enables us to do is basically exactly what it says. it enables us to wait for a specific time frame till our image is done generating. Our waiting time should be around 30 seconds because images with Nano Banana tend to generate pretty fast, so you will not need more than that. After this time have passed, what we need to do is to take in the images that we just generated with Nano Banana and bring them back over in our N8N interface. So to do that, I will simply come over here, click on the plus icon, and I will search for another HTTP request. And now how I'm going to configure this request is by coming back over here to the docs and navigating over in the API endpoint section, and then I will come over here and select query task. This is basically the documentation in order for us to get the images we just generated back into N8N. So as you can see over here, we have another CURL, so all we have to do is to come over here and copy it. And then we're going to come over here and click on import CURL. Simply paste in the snippet of code we just copied and click on import. And again, this populates the majority of the settings for us automatically. Now the only things we need to change is, first of all, we need to authenticate ourselves, which if you remember, we have actually saved our authentication inside N8N. So I will simply come over here and change this to generic credential type, and I will come over here and select header auth, and then I will simply come over here and select my key API key. And then I need to navigate over here in the query parameters, and the field that is called task ID. What I need to do is to simply delete the fake dummy value that exists inside here, and simply take in the task ID that we have from our initial HTTP request and simply drag and drop it over here. And since we have already authenticated ourselves, we do not really need these end header parameters, so I will simply turn them off. And now, if I come over here and I execute the step, you guys will see that we do in fact have an output over here, and it says that this message was successful, which means that we have successfully managed to retrieve 4 images that we just generated. But we have them inside the schema that is called results.json, where you can see we have a bunch of other random text which we don't actually need. And in the way that we have all of this data over here, we're not going to be able to access our images very easily. So to circumvent that, what we need to do is to simply close this off, and we're going to come over here and add in an edit fields node. And what we're going to do in the edit fields node is we're basically going to come over here and click, which is going to open up the fields to set up. Then we simply need to give it a random name. I will name it link, for example. Then over here in the value, you simply need to type in this snippet of code, which basically extracts only the image URLs that we have. And you will see that if I actually execute the step, it's going to extract these 4 image URLs, which I can actually come over here and copy. And if I paste them in my browser, I can actually see one of the 4 images that Nano Banana just generated, where we can see it kept the original branding, and we also have a cat in a bowl and somebody petting her, which is exactly what we inputted in our Lovable interface. So now what we need to do is to take in these 4 images and return them back in our Lovable interface, so then the user can see them and decide which ones he wants to turn into video ads. So to do that, we have to come over here and search for a respond to webhook node, and we have to come and change this from first incoming item to all incoming items. So we are actually able to return all the images and not just the first one. And then we also need to come over here in our webhook node, and we need to open this up and change the respond parameter from immediately to using a respond to webhook node. Because if we do not make this change, we will not be able to use the respond to webhook node. Now do not ask me why it works like that, I honestly have no idea as well. So make sure you actually make this change. And now if we come over here and we execute the respond to webhook node, you will see that nothing is going to happen in our Lovable interface, and that is because we have not yet told Lovable to expect to receive data. So before we execute this, we need to come back over to Lovable and tell it, make sure you expect to receive data from the webhook URL, and you create a section where you can display it. And then I will simply come over here and send this off and basically tell Lovable that it constantly needs to be checking for data that's going to come back from N8N. And boom, Lovable made all the changes, so now we can finally come back over to N8N and execute the respond to webhook node. It executed successfully and sent back the 4 image URLs over to Lovable. And boom guys, if we come back over to Lovable, we can see the images that we just generated with Nano Banana displayed over here in a very nice way. And you can see that we only have 3 images and not 4, and that is because the 4th image actually failed to generate, as I went over to N8N and just saw right now. That happens sometimes guys, but it's not the end of the world, and if you really want another image, you can simply come back over here, fill in the parameters, and simply choose to create one brand new image, and then the app is going to go, generate it, and bring it back over here. But for this example, let's say we only wanted 3 images, which are these 3 that were generated. And as you can see guys, these actually look amazing. They look super professional and super realistic, like they were taken by an actual photographer. But now let's say we only want to create video ads for only 2 out of these 3 images. As you can see, we don't see any buttons over here in Lovable in order for us to generate those video ads. So we need to come over here to Lovable and basically tell it to generate these buttons. So I will simply come over here and say, I want to be able to generate video ads from these images. So I want you to create buttons for each one of those. You should be able to click one button for a specific image and have it sent over to N8N as a binary file. And again, I specify to send it over as a binary file. So we can then go and create a video with it. Make sure you send all the data over to this webhook URL. Now what I will do, guys, is I will come back over to N8N and create a brand new workflow over here, and I will add in a brand new webhook because we need a place where we can send all the data that we have inside a Lovable interface right now. So I will again basically make the exact same changes. I will come over here and change this over to post, and then I will simply come and copy this URL and come back over to Lovable and paste in the webhook URL over here and click on enter. So now Lovable is going to go and create the buttons for each one of those images, where we'll basically be able to select which ones we want to turn into video ads. And boom, Lovable just finished making the changes. So now let's say we only want to generate an ad for this image and for this image. All we have to do is to simply select them. We need to come back over to N8N, click on listen for test event, and come back over to Lovable and click on create animated ads. And boom, as you can see, it is saying that it is creating 2 animated ads right now. And boom, guys, I successfully managed to get the data back over in my N8N interface. But as you can see, I do not have a binary file. If I scroll down here, I basically have the image URL that I sent back over to Lovable. And that is why I had a problem returning the images as a binary file, and I basically came over here and told it, if you cannot return it as a binary file, just return me the image URL. And that's exactly what it did. It basically changed the code and it returned me the image URL, which also works perfectly fine. If I'm gonna be honest, it is even better because we skip a step of us uploading again our binary files over to IMGBB. So now what we have to do is to basically take in those images and analyze them so we know the exact content of those images. And to do that, we will simply copy the previous analyze image node that we had and simply come over here and paste it in, and come over here and connect it. I will also open this up and unpin this data. And then the only change I'm going to make is I will come over here in the URLs and I will simply delete this. And now over here in the URLs, if I scroll down here, we can see that I do in fact have the URLs inside an array, which means that I cannot actually put them over here. So how we're going to be able to circumvent that is we're going to come and add in another node between these two, which is going to be the splitter node, which again, it will enable us to basically come over here, take in this array, drag and drop it over here. And if we click on execute step, it's going to input all of the URLs inside one simple schema. So we can then come over here, open up the analyze image node, and simply take in the schema and drag and drop it over here. And now if we come over here and execute the step, you will see that we got an analysis for both of the images. So now what we need to do is, based on this analysis, create 2 probes that we can then send over to VO3 to generate us the animated ads. So to do that, I will come over here and I will search again for another OpenAI node, and this time I will select message tomorrow. Again, I will select my credentials. I will leave all the other settings exactly as they are. Over here in the model, I will select GPT-4. You can obviously select any model you want. And over here the prompt, we basically need to tell OpenAI exactly what we wanted to do. So I will come over here, turn this into an expression and open this up so you guys can take a better look at it. And I will type, analyze this image description, and I will simply take in the image description we just generated and drag and drop it over here. And then I say, and create a prompt explaining how to add subtle animation to make it a high converting ad. Keep the animation minimal. And now if I actually close this off, I'm not actually going to execute this step yet because I'm going to come over here in the tools and I will add in a tool, and specifically I'm going to add in the think tool to make our AI model give us a better response. So now I will actually come over here and execute the step, and boom, as we can see it finished executing. So if I open this up, we can see a full on prompt description that we can take and send over to VO3. But because we will have a problem with this specific description, since it is changing lines and has a bunch of other characters, what I will do is I will also come over here and say, make sure there are no line changes and no weird symbols so we don't break the JSON. And I will execute this again, and that is something I actually forgot to add, and you will see why in a bit, guys. But that is a problem that a lot of people run into when they're trying to generate images and videos with Nano Banana and VO3. So as you can see right now, our prompt does not have any weird symbols and no line changes, which if it does, it actually gives us an error when we're sending it over to VO3. So that's why I specifically told it to not have any of these things. And now that we have our prompts, I will actually come over here and pin all of this data, so do not have to rerun this. And it's time to go and send a request over to VO3 in order for it to start generating our videos. So to do that, I will come over here and I will again search for an HTTP request, because we're going to access VO3 the same way we access Nano Banana. And that is by using Key AI, which is by far the cheapest way to access the VO3 API, at least at the moment of this recording. So all you have to do is to come over here in Key AI's original page, navigate over here in the Video API and select VO3 API, and then come over here and click on VO3 API documentation. And again guys, I will leave a link for it in the description below. Now we're brought over in this page, which intimidates a lot of beginners, but it's actually super simple to navigate. All you have to do is to come over here in the CURL, simply come over here and copy it, and then you need to come back over to N8N and click on import CURL and simply paste in the snippet of code you just copied and click on import, and boom, this populates the majority of the settings for us automatically. Now the first thing that we need to do is to authenticate ourselves, so I will come over here and change this to generic credential type, then I will come over here and select header auth, and then I will come over here and select Key API. I will also come over here and turn off the send header parameters since we already authenticated ourselves. And then we have the JSON body, which if I actually turn it into expression and open up so you guys can take a better look at, we have a bunch of things to configure over here. Now the first thing that we need to configure is the prompt, in which we simply need to come over here and delete it, and then we're going to take the prompt that our AI model just created for us, simply drag and drop it over here. And this is the part where I told you before that the JSON breaks, because if inside this there are a bunch of different symbols and a bunch of different line changes, N8N does not take it as valid JSON and it actually gives you an error. That's why I told my AI model to remove all of those. And then over here in the image URLs, all we have to do is to simply come over here and delete this fake URL, and then we're going to come over here in our splitter node, simply take in our image URLs and drag and drop them over here. Then over here the model, this is actually super important guys, do not skip this part, because right now the model is using VO3. But if we come back over to the docs, we can see that we have access to two models, VO3 quality and VO3 fast. And when we're saying VO3, we mean the VO3 quality, which is a model that costs 5 times more than the VO3 fast model, and they only have a 20% difference. And just to get a rough estimate of the cost, the VO3 fast costs around 40 cents per generation, while the VO3 costs around $2 per video generation. So you can see how you can spend a lot of money if you are using this model. So we need to change this to the VO3 fast. And if we scroll all the way down over here to the docs, where we can see the model parameter, which is here, we can see that we only have two available options, VO3 and VO3_fast. So since this is the one that we want to use, I will simply come over here and copy it, and then come back over here and simply paste it in. So now we're using the VO3 fast model, which is the model that again costs only 40 cents per video generation. And then we have a bunch of other parameters that you can configure if you want. I personally don't want to change any of them, so I will leave them exactly as they are. I will simply delete the watermark since I decided that I don't actually want it. And now we can actually come and close this off and send over a request over to VO3 in order for it to start generating our videos. So I will simply come over here and execute the step, and boom, as you can see, we successfully managed to send over a request over to VO3 in order for it to start generating our videos. And I will actually come over here and pin this data, because again this does cost money guys. And now what we need to do is to simply again come over here and wait for a bit for VO3 to finish generating our videos. To be safe, I will actually set this on 2 minutes, and then we can move on with the rest of our automation. And now that the time has passed, it's time we actually go on and retrieve the videos that VO3 generated for us back in our N8N interface. To get the video, we need to come over here and click on Get 180p Video, and this opens up the docs. Now again, over here we see a CURL. So all we have to do is to come over here and copy it, and then we're going to come back over to N8N, click on Import CURL, paste in the snippet of code we just copied and click on Import, which populates the majority of the settings for us automatically. Now I will again come over here and authenticate myself, so I will select generic credential type, then I will come over here, select header auth, and then I will come and select my Key API. I will turn off the header parameters, and the other thing we need to do is to come over here and enable the send query parameters. We need to come over here and type in task ID with a capital I over here, because if you don't capitalize this, this is not going to work. Then over here in the value, we simply need to take in the task ID from our HTTP request and simply drag and drop it over here. So now, if I actually come and execute the step, we can see that the video is still processing, and that is because I chose to come over here and get the 180p video. If I had come over here and chose the get via 3 video details, I would be able to retrieve the video faster, but it wouldn't be in 180p quality. So I chose to wait a little bit longer and get the higher quality video. So if you also choose the 180p video, make sure you actually come over here and increase the time frame you have to wait. And just to be safe, you can also come over here and add in an if node where you will be able to check if it is done generating. For example, you could come over here and change this to a number and say is equal to, and you could come over here, take in the code, which is 400, and say if the code is equal to 200, which is the code for when the video has successfully been generated, then this function would be true. But since this is 400 now, it is false, which means that we come over here the false branch, and then we can simply take this and bring this back over here. So we'll wait for another 2 minutes, and then we'll recheck again, and we're constantly going to be rechecking till this function is actually true. So now, if I actually come back over here and run this again, we can see that we have a different message this time, which is 200, which is success, and as you can see the code is 200, and over here we have all of our video URLs. So now we can basically do whatever we want with them. We can either return them back in a Lovable interface so the user can take a look at them. We can also come over here and upload them into our Google Drive if we actually want it. We would have to simply come over here and select upload a file and simply configure the settings over here and upload them over to Drive. But for this example, I actually want to return it back in my Lovable interface so the user can take a look at the videos. So that is exactly what I'm going to do, and to do that I will again search for a respond to webhook node. And again I will come over here and select all incoming items, and I need to come back over in my webhook, open it up and change this from immediately to using a respond to webhook node. But remember, we also need to tell Lovable to expect to receive the videos. So to do that, I will come back over to Lovable and tell it, make sure you expect to receive the generated videos, and you create a section where you can display them. And then I will simply click on enter, and now Lovable is going to go and create this brand new section. And boom, Lovable just finished making the changes. So now we can come back over to N8N and actually execute the respond to webhook node. And boom, as you can see, it was successfully executed and send all this data back into Lovable. And boom guys, if I come back over in my Lovable interface, we can see the 2 videos that were generated over here. We can download them and we can also play them in another tab. So let's take a look at the first video. Alright, that's pretty cool. Now let's also take a look at this video as well. Wow guys, that is actually very good. And the crazy part is that you can basically customize these videos exactly as you want, with the prompts that you input inside your Lovable interface and the instructions you give into the AI models inside your N8N workflow as well. So I think you guys can see how much potential an app like this has. And if you want to learn how you could potentially sell an app like this, you can click the link in my description and come and check out my school community, where I show you exactly how to sell apps like this. I showed you how to do it with Upwork, cold email, and also how to do it by building an audience on YouTube and on Instagram and leveraging it to sell them your automations. And trust me guys, these 2 methods work very well. I almost daily get messages of people wanting to get on a call with me so I can look at the business and build them a system, and I don't even promote it as an offer in my channel. Now imagine if you made a YouTube and Instagram channel and then you also promoted your AI services. You would have massive leverage, and you would also be able to charge significantly higher prices simply because you would have so much social proof from the audience that you have built. Plus you will also get access to the Build the $1 Million SaaS series, where I basically document the journey of me building my own AI SaaS. And guys, this is an actual business I have wanted to build for a very long time, and I just chose to also document it exclusively inside the community. And of course, you will also get access to all the assets from every one of my videos, including this one. So all you have to do is to simply open up the Assets tab, find the video you want to download the JSON from, and then simply come over here in the Resources tab, simply click on it, and click on Download, and then come back over to N8N, click on these 3 dots on the top right corner, click on Import from File, upload the file, and the whole automation is going to populate for you automatically without you having to do anything. And of course, in the Assets tab, you're going to find the automation that we built in this video. So if you would be interested in all of this content, along with getting access to a community of 180 members that are interested in AI and most importantly, making money with it, make sure you click the link in the description and you come and check out the school community. But also YouTube thinks you're going to enjoy this video where I built a $1 million app using just Lovable and N8N. So make sure you go and watch that next. And I will see you over there.